Texas A&M's matchup with New Mexico State is the perfect opportunity to get Terry Bussey the ball at running back.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. The show today is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. On the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking a little bit about how I want to give you all my thoughts on Elko as a recruiter and why I think it's working so well and why I think that's going to be sustainable. I also want to talk about within the receiver room, we've talked about the future. We've talked about you need some new guys. You got to hit the portal. These guys aren't working out. But we haven't had the conversation of, is there any way to figure things out late in the season to maybe have this group kind of tighten up for the postseason? But we're going to start the episode talking about Terry Bussey and are we going to see him get used more as a running back with the injury to Le'Veon Moss? You know, it's something we've talked about a lot over these last few weeks. These last few days, once we found out Moss was done for the year with his injury sustained against South Carolina. We talked a lot about you got to figure something out at running back. You are now thin. You've got Amari Daniels and you got E.J. Smith, and that is it. And I think this game against New Mexico State is the perfect opportunity to get Bussey some carries. I mean, you're playing New Mexico State, and it's not like you're playing last year's New Mexico State, who was genuinely a solid team with Pavia. I mean, this team currently, their record is 2-7. I mean, they're not great this year. Obviously, they lost their coach and they lost all that. So, it's a team that I expect Texas A&M to steamroll, in all honesty. And I mean that with all due respect to a program that's done some cool things of late. But I mean, I don't expect this game to be close. And knowing that's the case, this is an opportunity not only for Bussey to get some carries, but for young guys in general to get some snaps. I think these are the games late in the year where you let some of your younger players get snaps, and then you kind of learn about those players. And then that kind of gives you your, okay, cool. Maybe next year this guy's going to be really good. Like, you get a first look at some of these young players. But, I mean, it's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Losing Le'Veon Moss is a problem. Texas A&M is now kind of in a spot where I'm looking at this and I'm going, I'm looking at this with some concern. And the concern that I have here is that you're now thin and you lost a really good running back. Le'Veon Moss was one of the best running backs in the SEC. I think I was talking about Hunter and Rocket Sanders. There's some good running backs in this conference, but Le'Veon Moss proved he was one of them. You already lost a guy in Ruben Owens who I thought was going to have a spectacular season. So now you're kind of in this spot where you need to figure out what you're going to do going forward. Coach Klein's going to run the rock, ladies and gentlemen. Coach Klein is going to be running the football. It's not like, well, I guess we'll just throw it now. No, the offense, they're going to want to keep it the same, similar to the same. I'll say that. Similar to the same. And knowing that, I think you kind of have to you have to be a little concerned. Knowing that this offense is going to stay the same, it does scare me a little bit that you look at this room, you look at this Texas A&M running back room, and you go, okay, you got Amari Daniels, a guy who's been around for a while. He's done some good things. You got E.J. Smith, a transfer that has some upside. We haven't seen it. The yards per carry on his 30-plus carries so far this season hasn't been great. So, there's definitely some concern there. There's some concern there with the depth in this room. I mean, I think Amari Daniels, when we're talking, in all honesty, you're talking third-string running back because he's supposed to be behind Owens and Moss. Now, obviously, he started the year behind Moss due to the injury to Owens, but you got to be pretty happy with the spot that Amari Daniels, who I think is a darn good running back, is your third string running back. But I still do have concern because I think Coach Klein's proven that he's going to spread these carries out. I'm not as concerned about Amari Daniels' carries. I'm really not. The question is EJ Smith's carries. And hopefully maybe he can pull out a little bit of his dad over the tail end of the season. I've heard his dad was a pretty good running back. I don't know if anyone else can agree or disagree with that. But, EJ Smith is a guy. There was some upside. There's some upside there. There was some offseason upside. I believe in the skill possessed by EJ Smith. I believe he's a guy that can be a good running back for this team. I really do believe all those things. So the question then becomes, is this tandem now of Daniels and Smith going to be able to get it done? I think Terry Bussey is arguably the most electric player on your football team with the football in his hands. I mean, talk about a do-it-all player. I mean, you brought him here really as a corner, but he's a Travis Hunter type of upside player. And I think you need to find opportunities to get the football in his hands. He shined at receiver at points. I think it was against Missouri, right? That he had a solid game. I think he led the team in receiving that game with like 3 catches for 72 yards. He has shined at times this year. He has proven that he can do special things. And heck, I think every opportunity you can get the football in Terry Bussey's hands is a good thing. Do everything in your power to get him the football. So give him some carries. I mean, once again, you're playing New Mexico State. You should win this game by 4 or 5 touchdowns, right? You should win this game, maybe more than that. You're going to win this game by a wide margin. Why not try some things out? This is not a throwaway season. If this was a throwaway season, I would say, well, whatever, just run Daniels. We'll figure out the future for Bussey. This is not a throwaway season. You are competing right now for an SEC championship game appearance and a college football playoff appearance. You have 2 huge games left against Auburn and Texas after New Mexico State. If you can figure something out with Bussey at running back against New Mexico State, why in the world would you not want to do that? So I just think this is an opportunity. And once again, I mean, you're trying. I don't want to talk about golf again. It's like trying to do when you're going fishing, you know what I mean? And yeah, the old Ned rig isn't working all day. Throw on a crankbait. Let's see what happens. Throw on something different, right? Why not? Why not? Why not try Terry Bussey at running back? We know he can do everything with the football in his hands. I mean, everything. And he's taking some reps. At the spot, we know he can do it. I'd give him the opportunity and say, hey, what the heck? Let's see what happens. I believe in Terry Bussey and his shiftiness and his ability make you miss and his speed. The question is going to be, can he hit the holes? Can he address and hit the holes right? But Terry Bussey to me is that type of football player that he just understands where he's supposed to be and what he's supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? I mean, he just gets it. So I don't have any concern about him adjusting to playing running back. I think it's something he can do. And frankly, if I'm Terry Bussey, put me at every position you possibly can. Put me at quarterback, put me at receiver, put me at corner, put me at running back. All you're doing is giving him a better chance to be this first-round pick in the NFL draft that we believe he can be. I mean, the dude is an extreme talent. He is a chameleon. He can do it all on the football field. And I think now you're in this spot. Once again, the moral of this conversation, the takeaway from this is, why the heck not? What do you have to lose? You got Smith, you got Daniels. That's your running back room right now. You're probably going to need, we've seen Smith get carries all season long. And the reason that's important is he's your third string guy. I mean, if he's your third string guy, then Bussey's not your third string guy more than likely at running back. He's going to be getting a few carries a game, probably not more than 3 or 4, but still the point stands. And maybe if he takes over as a guy, the 1-2 punch can be Daniels and Bussey. So I think this game is an opportunity for this coaching staff to see what they have in a player like Bussey. At different positions. And I think what they have is a special talent with extreme NFL upside that can play literally any position on the football field. So if I am Mike Elko and I am Colin Klein, I'm throwing Terry Bussey out there saying, what the heck? Let's see what the young man can do with an opportunity. That is what I think the staff should do against New Mexico State. And I'd love to see that. So let me know in the YouTube comments y'all's thoughts on this. Do you think Terry Bussey should get some carries? Do you want to see him at running back? Do you want to see him at receiver? Where would you like to see Terry Bussey play the rest of the season now knowing you need a little bit of help in the running back room? Let me know that in the YouTube comments. If you're listening on a podcast platform, go ahead and head over to YouTube, subscribe, and while you're at it, leave that comment there in the comments. We're going to talk about the wide receiver issues. What's going on? Is it fixable? We'll have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, don't talk about our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Looking at the wide receiver room, I think you could argue that it's been the biggest disappointment of the season to this point for the Aggies. I have been incredibly disappointed with this wide receiver room. I was really fired up about the upside of this room. I believed in Ja'Day Walker. I believed in Noah Thomas and Moose Muhammad and Micah Tease. I mean, there were a lot of names that we were expecting to step up this season. And at the end of the day, I mean, I think Noah Thomas, he's been okay. I'd still argue he's underperformed. Ja'Day Walker's underperformed. Moose Muhammad's underperformed. You haven't seen Tease do a single thing. I think that Cyrus Allen had a few games, but then it's kind of like, well, where's he gone? Jabri, obviously, Barber coming back plays a role. Jabri Barber's been the guy that I think, to me, and once again, the reason, I watched these games. I watched every Texas A&M game again this week over again. And to me, the biggest takeaway, in all honesty, from everything, from every aspect of the game, the biggest takeaway to me was I think Jabri Barber passes the eye test. I mean, Noah Thomas, at times, he does things where you go, wow, I can't wait to have this guy on my fantasy football team in 2 years. And then he does things where you go, dude, what are we doing here? Come on. I mean, same can be said about Ja'Day Walker. Same can for sure be said about Moose Muhammad, but it's more has to do with him doing silly stuff rather than on-field play. But, I mean, I believe that this team, that this receiver room possessed a ton of upside. And these guys just don't seem to be open. I mean, I think we all felt pretty good about the upside of this Texas A&M receiver room, and they just didn't pan out the way we thought they would. It's frustrating. I mean, really, it is really frustrating. I was excited about this room. And I mean, Noah Thomas, I would say of these guys that are catching, some strays right now, I would say Noah Thomas has probably been the best. I mean, on the year, he's got 367 yards on 24 catches and 3 touchdowns. I just was expecting him to be around the 500-yard mark at this point. I expected him to have a massive season. I mean, I believe he's already eclipsed his best season, right? Has he, or has he not? Yes, he has. Last year, he had 359 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he's already eclipsed his yards from last year. Last year, he had 29 catches. He has 24 this year. I bet he gets to around 30. And then he had 5 touchdowns. That'll be interesting. Can he match last year's touchdown total? But the thing you got to remember is he caught 7 touchdowns in the first game of the year against Mexico last year. Still, point is, I expected Noah Thomas to have a real. I expected Noah Thomas to have a good enough season where he was really getting people fired up when it comes to the NFL. Oh man, he's 6'6", he's long, he's lengthy, he can win the 50-50 ball. The problem is, I just My opinion on receivers, and my dad and I share this opinion, is I'm never a fan, as big of a fan of the 50-50 ball guys. I like the guys who are just open. Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp. I mean, there's lots of names you could run through when discussing this. I mean, I think those are two great ones. But there's a lot of, these, like Tyreek Hill's one. It's partially because of his speed. You can't guard him, but you get what I'm saying. The guys that are just open. I mean, I'd rather a guy get open than win 50-50 balls, a good amount. I'd rather just be open. Make it easier on your quarterback. Limit turnovers. 50-50 balls, you're going to get picked off some. I mean, there's negatives that come with 50-50 balls. So I thought Noah Thomas was going to be better at getting separation. And yes, he's been open on a few. He's had a few of his 24 catches. He's been wide open on some of them. But then some of them have been 50-50 balls. And that's kind of my thought there. I mean, I think so when it comes to can the issues in this room be fixed, I think the way that happens is Jabri Barber continuing to get healthy, continuing to get right. Obviously, he had the offseason surgery. We didn't think we'd see him at all this season. He's a surprise. There's a chance you're ready for Notre Dame. And obviously, he wasn't, and he had to kind of slow his way back in. But it looks like he's hitting his stride at the right time. And, I mean, Jabri Barber is a guy you got to remember. I mean, last year, I believe was he the one that had 999 yards, or was that Cyrus Allen? Yes, he had 999 yards last year on 75 catches for the Troy Trojans. And I mean, just looking at Barber, he's a guy that I think can finish the season strong, and that would be so huge. We need some of these guys to finish the season strong, and because you got to help out Marcel Reed. I'm just telling you. Obviously, the goal of this Texas A&M offense is to run the rock. Coach Klein's made that clear. Coach Elko and company, they've made it clear they want to run the rock. And that's great. This offense is great at running the ball. But now you're down your star running back. Le'Veon Moss is done. What's going to happen in the running back room? These receivers have to find a way to help this offense out a little bit. That means Jabri Barber continues to improve. Noah Thomas gets things figured out. Janae Walker, come on, dude, let's get it going. There's a lot left to figure out in the running back room or in the receiver room for this team. And obviously, I've talked about it. I think you've got to fix these issues in the offseason. You lose a Cam Coleman. You lose a Keandre Lambert-Smith, one at high school, one at transfer. You've got to go get someone that can be that guy. And I mean, we'll all see against Auburn, that Lambert-Smith kid. He's a stud. He would have been the perfect wide receiver one on this team, the perfect player. I think he'd have had better numbers here than at Auburn and done himself some better favors for the NFL. So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just got to go get that guy. And maybe you got to be willing to spend a little bit of money. Like I said, I don't think Texas A&M is going to need to go spend money on a quarterback this offseason. But we know that. I mean, even if Wigman leaves, you still got Reed. You got the young guys coming in. You've got talent all over this quarterback room. Henderson's still around. There's a lot of interesting things to see what happens with this quarterback room. You're not going to need to go get the $1 million quarterback. So go get the $400,000 receiver. I mean, that's kind of where my head's at. But that's for next season. We still have a lot left to play for when it comes to this season. So, I just look at this and I say to myself, okay, we have got to figure something out for the rest of the season in the wide receiver room. And maybe, ladies and gentlemen, and this could be the sad reality, maybe this isn't something that's fixable. I mean, I don't know. You had the bye week. You played New Mexico State, so you have a couple weeks to kind of dial things in. But I don't know if it was an issue of communication or the quarterback getting the ball to the receivers. To me, it's an issue of these guys aren't open. And receivers not being open, it makes everything harder. It makes it harder on the quarterback. It makes it harder on the offensive coordinator. It makes it easier on the defense. It creates turnovers. There are so many negatives that come from receivers not being open. That's just the reality. So it's something to get dialed in. I think Jabri Barber continuing to get healthy, continuing to play, better and better and better could help this offense. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think the guy that you got to call out here is Noah Thomas. Noah Thomas needs to finish the season strong. If he could get 200 yards and a couple touchdowns over the next 3 weeks, it would be really helpful for this football team. So Noah Thomas is a guy you would love to see get going down the stretch of the season. But him and Jerry Barber, if those two could become a really solid 1-2 punch, it would really make life easier for Marcel Reed. So I'm anxious to see if they're able to get it going. But I mean, my belief in this team being able to win a national championship decreases, with the poor play of receivers. So if you want to do something special, these guys got to finish the season strong. We're going to talk about why I believe Mike Elko is an elite recruiter and why I believe it's sustainable. And we'll have that. I'll tell you about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. First, we'll tip about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the only place anyone should ever be buying tickets to literally anything you want to buy tickets to. Like I said, my dad and I went to a concert the other day. It was my birthday present. Birthday was months back, but it was my birthday present from my dad. The concert was on Tuesday. Went and saw that. It was a great time. Where did he get the tickets? On Game Time. Every time he gets tickets to a concert, a ball game, he gets them on Game Time. Same for myself. I tell all my buddies. Everybody that's getting tickets, I send them this promo code. Say, hey, start using Game Time. I'm telling you, it is the best place to get your tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Mike Elko, when he was hired to be the head coach of the Texas A&M Aggies, I knew when it came to scouting talent and developing talent in X's and O's, there was going to be nobody better. My concern was landing this talent, recruiting this talent. And it was kind of funny. It reminds me when I had on Texas A&M running back DeAndre Wright and had him on the show a few months ago. And, I told him, I said straight up, listen, I cannot believe how great Elko's been on the recruiting trail. And so we talked about that. I talked with DeAndre about why Texas A&M is such a great, why Elko's such a great recruiter. He gave his opinions on that. But at the end of the day, to me, what stood out about this and about Elko as a recruiter is that he's selling the right vision to these athletes. I think at times coaches can sell the wrong vision. And I don't think that's the case for Elko. I think he shoots you straight. I think he tells you exactly what you need to know. I think he always is fair and honest with these recruits. And I think that stuff matters. I think that matters to these players. And I think that's going to be a reason why you see after this year, you're going to see some players that were part of, Fisher's class and all that. You're going to see some transfers. But I think you're going to see Elko do a pretty darn good job of keeping players around because I just think he does things the right way. So knowing that, I believe that Elko is going to be successful. But I just believe winning helps. Winning. He's proven that you can win football games. He's proven that you can play important football games in mid to late November. He's proven that you can compete for championships here at Texas A&M. That is what Mike Elko's proven early into his tenure at Texas A&M. So my thoughts on this is I think it's sustainable because I think he's going to keep winning. I think he's going to develop NFL talent. I think everything a recruit wants a coach to do, Mike Elko is doing. And I think he's going to build that trust with these recruits. I think it's going to help when recruits are reaching out to current Texas A&M players and saying, give me your thoughts on this and this and this. And Coach Elko's, and they say, well, Coach Elko's the best. Everything he says is true. Everything he says is legit. I mean, you got to love the way Coach Elko handles everything about the recruiting trail, everything about player development, everything about all the players on his roster. So I think the success recruiting is sustainable. That was my concern when Texas A&M hired Elko was, is he going to be able to get the guys? He's proven he can, and I believe he's going to continue to prove that he can year after year after year, and he's going to be one of the better recruiters in the SEC. And I think this program is going to start to see more consistent success when it comes to winning football games and when it comes to winning on the recruiting trail, which obviously that's been happening for a while. But then winning on the recruiting trail and having those players be legit good players for your team. So I believe in Coach Elko. I believe in the vision. I believe in the future on the recruiting trail. No question there. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. I really, really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. Both of those help out the show a ton, help me out a ton. If you're listening on a podcast platform, head to YouTube on a podcast platform, subscribe there, leave 5-star review. All those things help the show a ton as well. I really appreciate y'all being here on a day-to-day basis. Football's coming back soon, ladies and gentlemen. The Aggies are back on the field here soon. Hope everyone has a great rest of their Thursday. We'll see you here tomorrow on Friday, right here on Locked On Aggies.